Welcome to another episode of Crawfordsville Connection, the City of Crawfordsville's weekly podcast that comes out every Monday morning. I'm your host, Sarah Summer, and I'm joined in the studio every week with Mayor Todd Barton to keep our community up to date on current events, city workings, and to hear from community members on a variety of topics. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you enjoyed the show. Welcome back to another episode of Crawfordsville Connection. I'm your host, Sarah Summer, and today I'm joined in the studio by Mayor Todd Barton.
Hello.
Hello. And this is our very last general update of the year.
Oh my gosh. Well, we may have to do some kind of summary at the end of the year.
Yeah, we'll do an end of the year wrap up.
Yeah.
For our monthly general
this is
updates.
December. Here we go.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's crazy. 2025.
It
the
has
end is near.
Yeah. It's been a very exciting year.
Yes. Yeah. We've had lots of things going on.
I feel like we say that every year and it gets more, it just keeps getting ramped up. So
it's crazy.
We'll see what 26 holds.
Yes. Well, since we're doing a general update, of course, that means we have Brandy Allen with us. Hello.
Hello.
And before we get started, Mayor, do you have any announcements?
Well, I want to make one announcement. It's not directly our event, but the Chamber of Commerce will hold a legislative breakfast with our state legislators on Saturday, December 13th. You'll need to go to the Chamber's social media website to register and all that. And as far as I know, they still have open spots. So you do have to register ahead of time for that event. I bring that up because I'm going to refer several times to things that are happening in the state legislature. So
yes.
They are supposed to all be here that day. And if you want to hear directly from them or you want to make comments or ask questions, that would be the time to do so.
Yeah, it's a really great opportunity in our community to get in front of these people that maybe you wouldn't typically have an opportunity to directly speak to or share your opinion or
absolutely.
Ask questions.
And I question at times how much they're listening to the folks back home. So now's your chance to have your voice heard. And, like everything else, be respectful in how you do it. And I would suggest if you have a question, kind of write that down ahead of time to make it succinct and to the point. If you, think about what you want to say and kind of have a plan, but everybody, we've never had a problem at one of the events here, but,
right.
Make sure you just stay focused, and emotions can run away from people. I get it.
Yes.
But, it's a great opportunity. So, if you have questions or something, kind of might write that down ahead of time and think about it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good opportunity to show up though. And, get in front of these folks.
Yep. For sure. They need to hear from the people they represent.
Yes.
Not just the lobbyists in Indianapolis.
Right.
They need to hear from the folks back home.
Yes. And our 2026 budget is completed and it is at the state for review.
It is. I actually thought we might have it back by the time we were recording this, but we don't. So we should have that back anytime now. So there's really, we know they're going to approve the budget. It's well within our funding stream. So we're not really on pins and needles about that. I think for me, I'm maybe on pins and needles. What will the tax rate be?
Right.
And in looking at it and looking at the analysis from our financial advisors, I feel pretty confident saying the city tax rate will drop. Maybe a pretty significant amount. We'll see. I don't want to throw numbers out until we get it back, but it will definitely drop. And I feel good about that. Now, again, that's the city's portion. Mm-hmm. And when we think about what the legislature is doing with taxes, that doesn't necessarily mean that your overall taxes are going to go down, but the city's portion may.
Right.
And the way that works, there's a levy. And so if we drop ours, another taxing unit could increase theirs and pick up that extra piece there, which is frustrating to say the least. Probably the only part of what they're doing that I agree with that needs to change. Like if the city lowers your tax rate, your taxes should go down, not another taxing unit take up that piece and you don't go down.
And our 2026 utility budgets for CELP, wastewater, and stormwater.
Yes, and sanitation. I forgot to add that one in there, which is our trash pickup. So I just want people get confused by that. So I wanted to clarify those budgets are moving through the process. So those are not tax budgets per se. Those are all funded with user fees and revenue. So there's a different approval process for those. Those have all been put together. They're all in line with our city budgets overall. And they're just going through the final stages, like where the city council sees them and approves them, and the different boards approve those. So they're all solid. They're all in good shape. But that's how a utility operates. It's not with tax revenue. It's from user fees.
Okay. And Senate enrolled Act 1.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about that.
Yes.
There's been a lot of work behind the scenes, I guess, over the summer and what we'll call the off season. Obviously, the legislature is getting ready to adjourn again soon, and it should be front and center in what they address in this short session. Again, a recap. They tried to change the tax structure last year, and quite frankly made a mess. I'll just be honest. And so they need to come back and institute some fixes there to kind of clean up what they did last session in haste. I'll say that. So we're hoping that's a top priority now. There's all this discussion about redistricting and all that stuff that is taking away the limelight from this really important thing that needs to be addressed soon. So we'll see how that plays out. But a lot's happened in the off season, and basically just putting everybody's heads together. Like, how can we fix the tax issue in this state and still fund local government, still fund schools and all the things that we want in our communities? What they passed doesn't do it. I'm just going to tell you, like, it doesn't do it. Residential property taxes are probably not going to go down under what they passed. Big business got a dramatic cut, which hurts local budgets and hurts school budgets and everybody else. It's unfortunate. It's very sad that that's what they did, but hopefully they can fix some of it, at least in this upcoming short session.
Okay. And then there's been some news about different code enforcement things happening within the city and things going through Board of Works. And there's been some questions that we want to address.
Yeah. So I'm not going to speak to specific cases, because, those are individualized and maybe they're an appeal process. There's a legal process to follow there. But I want to speak in general. I was shocked, in a recent code enforcement case, how many phone calls and emails and everything we received by people thinking that just because a property is going through code enforcement, that the city gets to dictate what happens to that property afterwards. Like, hey, if this is going to be demolished, you should give it to us for whatever purpose, or you should put should put this in there. They should do that. And, at the end of the day, it's private property. The city is not going to be able to determine, just because there's code enforcement, I can't say, hey, give that to XYZ company or give it to somebody who wants to rehab it or give it to this nonprofit. We don't have the legal ability to do that. It is still private property owned by somebody at the end of the day. What we are pursuing is if the building is safe or not safe, period. So just a reminder there, we do have private property laws. Believe it or not, they don't get to decide everything. So I just want to remind people of that in general. I was shocked at the number of inquiries we had. Like, you should let us do this with it. The city doesn't get to decide what happens with these properties. Now, if we end up with ownership of it through the legal process, that's a different story. But right now, it's privately owned. We're simply pursuing the safety side of it and what's fair and what's right to the surrounding community and the neighbors.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And our Unified Development Ordinance.
So we've been talking about that for a long time. We think that's going to finally move forward in January. And again, that's combining the zoning code and the subdivision control orders, all those things in one place. We're a little behind on that compared to other communities, and that's why we're doing it. So, if a developer comes to our community, they're kind of confused why we have all these different regulations. It all needs to be in one place. And it's taken years to put this together. I think we're finally there. So we'll move through the approval process. I only bring it up today just to make you aware that that'll start moving in January. We'll talk about it in January in much more detail and depth, what it does. And it's not a drastic change. It's just kind of putting everything together.
Okay. And Shorts Nature Park, that planning is underway, and we're looking at 2026 making some changes.
Yeah, hopefully we've had our kickoff meeting there. We've started to look at concepts for design, and so they're going back and kind of creating some options for us so we can start to look at budgets and numbers and things like that. So we are in the process, but we don't have, official plans yet. We'll be working through that process and then hope to be able to construct in 2026.
And do you have a wayfinding project update?
I do. There hasn't been a whole lot of action since the rush before Motocross of Nations, but I did receive an update just this week that the signs that were made for the wrong type of installation are in production now. So those will ship when those are finished. And we also received our plans this week for, I guess, the final production plans for the trail portion of the signage, which was something that was a part of this all along, but we were focusing on the community signage first. So this will be that signage along the trail and also directing individuals out to the trail or from the trail into the community. So that's a smaller piece of the project. That should be much, much easier because a lot of that is being installed right on the trail where we don't have to worry about permitting and utility conflicts and all of the different things that have made this process last years longer than it needed to last. So the hope is that that portion will move pretty quickly, but we just have to take a final look at those plans and authorize production of that portion of the signage.
I'd be able to take this off the list
I know.
at some point. We
Don't
took
jinx
Ben-Hur
it.
off.
I know. It'll be crazy. But really, I mean, unfortunately, it's taken this long, but once it's done, it's going to make a big difference in the
It
community.
already is.
Yeah, we're
The
getting
signs
so
look
many
amazing.
compliments. So it's been worth it. It's just been frustrating.
Yes. And our high school lift station, do we have an updated timeline on that project?
They have not updated the timeline. That's pretty far behind schedule. The original completion was supposed to be in July. We've received a few updated completion dates since then, all of which have passed. Our best guess would be hopefully by the end of the year. But honestly, I mean, we'll just have to wait and see because we haven't gotten an update on that lately. But I do see them in town. They are here working. It's just going slower than originally predicted for multiple different reasons.
And our wastewater plant project with the digester lids.
Yeah, that's moving forward. I guess to kind of clarify, so those are the two very large tanks at the back of the wastewater plants that are above ground. So you'll see those back there. And those store the part of the waste that's removed that cannot be discharged in the stream. And there's a way we have to treat that before it's released. And part of that treatment is this anaerobic digestion process. So thus they're called digesters. As you can imagine, that puts off an odor, right? And so we for years have fought odor problems in that area of the city because of this. Basically the lids on those, and those lids float. So they're not just in one place all the time. Those are worn out and rusted and leaking. And so it's just not a good situation. So we want to replace those. That fix has been designed. Obviously it's expensive, but needs to be done. We're pursuing some grant funding right now, and we should know on that before too long, and then putting the financing together for the rest of it. So our goal is to get that fixed here pretty soon because, I mean, we want to be good neighbors, and it's not fair to the whole western side of the city to have that a problem on some days. Some days it's not, some days it is. But again, think in terms of what I said earlier, this is a utility. So this is not something that the city taxpayer funds. This is something that those who use the sewer system, which is basically everybody, pays for as part of the sewer expense. Yeah.
And our Skank Road project, do we have a timeline?
Work could begin anytime. We're right now waiting on utilities to all be moved and get out of the way so that they can begin construction. They do anticipate working through the winter. Obviously, there'll be shorter days and less work that they can do. But they do have a plan to begin work as soon as the utilities are out of the way. So last I had heard, I think that information was starting to flow. I think there might have been a miscommunication in the beginning. They were waiting on utilities, and utilities didn't know that they had been given authorization to proceed. But I think that should be working through the system now. This project is a little different. I might have mentioned before, I can't remember. Typically on these projects, we are the project manager. And so we're in all the meetings and we're getting all the updates. On these projects that are funded through these LPA dollars, we just pay our portion to NDOT, and then NDOT really is the project manager. So we don't get as frequent updates as we might if we were kind of handling all of that. But the last I heard that things are starting to move forward. And once we start to see some action, then we'll be invited to, either weekly or, every couple week meetings where we'll get more frequent updates. But right now it's just trying to get started.
I think there's some flags out there now.
Right.
And come spring, you're going to see a lot of activity out there. This project, it'll be going full force then.
Yes.
Great. And then, again, a reminder to people, we talk about these things, but we assume everybody knows what we're talking about. But this will take existing Skank Road and move that intersection with 50 South, that really bad intersection that's kind of in a bowl, move that further west then take Skank Road all the way down to State Road 32.
Mm-hmm.
Be a huge improvement for that side of the city.
Awesome. And our Market Street Railroad Crossing planning grant.
Yes, this project is really starting to pick up steam now. We're moving ahead, and we have brought a consultant on board. So HWC Engineering will be working with us to help create these plans. They have already updated our project management plan. We're moving forward with FRA on that. So things are really starting to move forward, and we're going to be moving into the environmental stage where we start to really take a look at the project, what the impacts may be, and then how we move forward from there. So there'll be a lot more frequent updates on this and a lot more action starting to happen. Still, though, this is a planning project. So, we're not building a bridge yet.
Yes.
But this prepares us to apply for that funding. And
yes,
we've had some blockages recently. So, I said for a while, knock on wood, it had been pretty good. Well, our luck ran out. So we've had some rail blockage issues. And again, I just remind everybody, just be calm, work your way around it. I know it's an inconvenience. I know it's annoying. I know it's frustrating. We're working on a solution long-term, and calling and yelling at people is not going to solve it.
Right.
And we cannot make the train move. I mean, I think that's the number one misconception. You should go arrest them or make them move. And we can't do it. It's not legal. So local government cannot interfere with interstate commerce. Indiana had a law that said you can only block the crossing so many minutes, and that got struck down by the Supreme Court. So there's literally nothing we can do when it happens other than try to manage traffic. And I think the last few times, Crawfordsville Police Department has done a fantastic job of moving traffic and resolving. I think the one occurred same day as we had our first snowfall.
Yes.
So it was a little dicey. It was a little tricky that morning, but there is, I think, hope at the end of the tunnel a few years from now.
Yes.
We've been dealing with it a long time in this community, and it's a tough one to address for sure.
And Broadway Street and Senator Lane.
Yeah, I put those on here. So Broadway, did you know we have Broadway in Crawfordsville?
No.
Yeah, we do. It's in the Athens edition off of Ladoga Road. We've had trouble with that street for some time breaking down. And then we have a very similar situation with Senator Lane, which is in South Meadows, which is kind of the Ladoga Road and 150 South area, that addition right there. Both those streets we've had structural issues with. And I just bring it up because we hear about it quite a bit. We have applied for grant funding, community crossings grant funding for 26 to hopefully come in and rebuild those two streets. So if you live on one of those, thank you for your patience. We understand it's an issue. Why those two have failed? Well, Broadway, we kind of know why it failed. It's been a stormwater underlying issue. Not sure why Senator failed. Like the other streets didn't fail the same way in that neighborhood. So, but we do plan to rebuild those if we get the grant funding, and I'm reasonably confident we'll get the grant funding. So it's in the pipeline. It's in the works.
Good.
And on Broadway, we have fixed the stormwater issue that was causing the problems, which was the necessary first step. So that once
so the drainage is fixed, now we need to fix the street.
Okay. And our sidewalk program going to be kicking off in 2026.
Yeah, stay tuned. We'll roll that out pretty soon. It's all set up and approved. We'll probably wait. We'll probably get through the first couple of months and then start to roll it out sometime after that. And rolling it out will just be putting the process out there that people can apply for the funding and how we'll move through approving that. So, and it's all contingent upon, the wheel tax and the surtax and what that revenue looks like. We know what it should look like, but we'll see after the first of the year. So, excited to finally. That's one of those issues that's just plagued us for decades, and we're not going to solve it overnight, but at least we'll start moving the needle a little bit in the right direction.
And there are some subterranean issues with downtown sidewalks.
There is, and that's going to throw people off. I put that on the list because we've never really talked about that. And we hear about sidewalks in the downtown, and some businesses have addressed that, some have not. And so the question always comes up: what's the barrier in those downtown business district to getting the sidewalks replaced? And most people don't realize we have this subterranean issue. And by that I mean, if you go on Washington Street from Pike north to Market, and if you go on Main from Washington and go east to almost to water, probably in that area. There were subterranean storefronts. So you had a store on the main level and you had a store in the basement, and you could walk downstairs on the edge of the sidewalk and get to that store in the basement. Or sometimes they had a coal chute there where they actually put coal in the building. Well, over the years, they just built sidewalks over that and didn't fill all those in. So there are these large voids under the sidewalks. Now, they're not the entire distance and they're not in front of every building, but it's hit and miss down through there. And so when you go to replace a sidewalk, you have to think about how you deal with that subterranean space. And it sounds really simple. You just fill it in, right? But that affects the foundation of that basement and the entrances into that basement, all those kind of things. So there's some engineering involved in that. It has been filled in a few places, and in some places it has not. And there's been talk about the sidewalk around Francis and Mount. That is one of those areas that has subterranean space underneath it. A lot of those down there through there do. So we've kind of, I guess, just kicked this can down the road for a while. Like, what do we do? There's no clear answer here. We've decided, like, we've assigned this to the city engineer. You need to go in and assess all those, and we need to come up with a plan how we're going to address those. The ones on Washington Street are even more complicated because it's on a state highway. Yes. So NDOT will be involved in the mix as well. And they've battled this as well as they were doing a project downtown. They're like, hey, this is all hollow underneath this sidewalk. So it's a challenging one, but we're gonna start looking at it. And I recall the city had a grant to replace sidewalks in the downtown 2 or 3 mayors ago. Ended up giving the grant back.
Wow.
Because it was so complicated due to those subterranean spaces that it's just like, this is not even going to touch what we need to do. It's not like you can rip out the sidewalk. There's nice dirt under there and you put a new sidewalk down.
Yeah.
It's not that way. So we're always cautioning, like, utilities and fire people or snow removal people, do not drive on those sidewalks. You might end up a floor below if you do. You might be okay, but you might not. So
very interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, I just want people aware that nothing going to happen overnight, but we are assessing it from an engineering standpoint to come up with a plan.
Okay. And Jennison Street Railroad Crossing, doing an engineering assessment there as well.
Yeah, it's another thing we've assigned to the engineer. This question has come up. So we're talking about Jennison Street in front of the Lambda Chi House. We're right next to the football stadium. You have a lot of things going on there, right? You have the street going through. You have a neighborhood right there. You have a fraternity. You have a rail line. You have all that stuff happening.
Athletic fields.
Yeah, athletic fields. A lot of pedestrians at times. So it's just gotten very confusing. So we don't know what the answer is, but we're going to have the engineer look at it and see if there's a better way to do that right there. And we don't know. We'll see. It's a tough one. And several years ago, stop signs went up at the railroad crossing, and people are kind of concerned, why are we putting stop signs there? And in reality, you need to stop there. You're required to stop there because the rail line and the road are at different angles, and you cannot see when you're just driving through there. You need to stop and look to make sure there's not a train. And the crossing is not wide enough. If you try to pass too wide there, one of you is probably going to end up with a flat tire. And that was happening a lot. So the stop signs went up to address all those issues. But we have assigned that to the engineer, and we'll see what they come up with. Not sure what we'll do there, but it is kind of a challenging area.
Okay. And Elm and South Boulevard, some water company work.
Yeah, so Indiana American Water and their local contractor had to come in and replace some mains there. They've ran into some issues, so that's dragged on longer than they thought. So you're going to see periodic closures of Elm Street just south of South Boulevard in the area of Town and Country. Now, here's the challenging part, and nobody's happy about this. We had literally just paved that. Literally just paved that. So I think that's a combination of part of the fault falls with the water company, part of it falls with us. So we're going to have to, this has happened before, and we think we get the process fixed, and then it apparently is not fixed. So I'll be the first to tell you that's not acceptable. It should not have happened. We're looking at how we can improve that process so these kind of miscommunication does not happen. But at the end of the day, the water company and their contractor is going to replace all that pavement like it was. So it'll be like new to the public when it's done at no cost to the city. but it shouldn't have happened. And so we're going to tweak the process to make sure these things aren't falling through the cracks, because this was not an emergency repair. It was a planned replacement of a water main. And that should not have happened before literally a week or two after we paved.
Right.
So stay tuned for that, but there will be some inconveniences there.
And the South Side Development fiscal plan for infrastructure with TIF.
Yeah, the last phase of that TIF creation will go through the council this month. So you'll start to see that. And then there will be TIF districts created for all of this development that we've been talking about for months and months and months, which will help to fund infrastructure in the area. So all these things that all the housing projects and the commercial development and all of the utility needs that those have will be funded by the addition of these TIF districts on the south side.
And the way that works, so people understand, because there's a lot of misconception about this, like, oh, my tax money is going to go out there and do all this. What we do is we capture the increment, so tax increment financing, or TIF. So you take the taxes as they are right now, and those are largely just fields, and you freeze that the way it is, and that tax money continues to flow like it always has. The increment, the new investment there, the taxes on that new investment will be captured into this TIF account that will in turn pay for the improvements in that area, pays for the water extensions, the sewer extensions, the road, extensions, all those kind of things that have to happen. So we're capturing that future new taxes in that area to improve that area, is the way that works.
Okay. And, on that south side, we've got lots of housing proposed, both single family and market rate apartments.
So everybody knows Arbor is doing very well. That's taken off. And so on Purple Heart, we've talked about this for a while. There's single family housing proposed basically between 150 and Purple Heart Parkway on that more eastern end of it, not all the way to Ladoga Road, but right across from South Meadows subdivision, that area. That property has been purchased by a developer, a home builder, and those plans are moving forward. And my guess is you'll probably see construction as far as building roads and stuff happen next spring there.
Wow.
So that's moving forward. And stay tuned for all that. But again, that's the increment that I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. So as those homes are built and they start paying taxes on those, we can use that new tax revenue from that area to pay off the rest of the sewer improvements and water improvements and so on.
Yeah. And some of this is the reason that we set that speed limit to 30 when we did.
Exactly. Yeah.
We knew things were going to be coming and moving quickly. I know we had some of that pushback of, why is this wide open road only 30 miles per hour?
Yeah, we knew at the time, like, this will happen fairly soon. So, yeah, we could have made it a little higher probably, but we'd had to come back as soon as houses start popping up then and start to lower it down. So we've not had any problems out there. It's even at 30 mile an hour, it seems like you're crawling, but it's still a considerable shortcut and you're avoiding a lot of traffic. So that road's just cool to drive. It just puts it all in perspective. You can see how Crawfordsville can grow.
Yeah. And then with all of the development out there, we're also looking at an Elm Street connector road. Yeah.
So in theory, what we need to do is tie Purple Heart to 150 South. So how do we get all that tied together? There's a plan for that. The property is largely already acquired. We're moving through that process. And it's not just about moving traffic in that area. A lot of it's about utilities as well. We need to get water tied together, all those kind of things. So that's been designed. We're close to putting it out to bid. We just have to make sure we understand the timeline, because there's a multifamily apartment project proposed right next to it. Mm-hmm. And we're trying to make sure we understand the timeline for that, because that drives part of this as well. So it's all tied together.
Yeah.
So we're working through, we've had a lot of meetings with developers and trying to get things finalized, but it's coming together. We don't know the exact timelines yet, but that's what we're talking about with. Sometimes we call it a connector road, and sometimes we call it the Elm Street extension. So it's either, it could have its own name, but it really is kind of an extension of Elm Street. Now, it's not a direct extension. Right. It's not Elm Street just going straight south. It's kind of offset further to the east.
Okay. And we'll also be doing water extension out there as well.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of water stuff that has to happen in that area. And that, again, gets confusing, because you're going to say, well, wait a minute, we have private water here, right? How does that work? And why is the city paying for it? You just said utilities have to pay for their own. So with new development, you have to make some decisions. And the private water does not pay for the new water mains in new development. Do I agree with that? No, I do not. But that's the hand we're dealt. And so in Indiana, that's the way the law is set up. So we fund it on the front side. We get that money back as customers come on. We get paid back for it. So we have to do it. In this case, we don't own a water utility. So if the city's going to have to pay for it, it's going to be the city proper. So we've used tax increment financing to fund a lot of that. And that's how we hope to move forward. In this case, with the new water extensions, what we're talking about is getting water all the way across Purple Heart to Ladoga Road. I just talked about that housing the ground is sold and it's going to happen. So we have to get the water main across there. This is not the water in the neighborhood, just the main going across. So we're moving through that process. It's ready to bid. And the goal, I think, is there'll be a bond. So basically you borrow the money to put the water in, and then that TIF revenue over the years then pays off that bond. Yeah. Which is infrastructure that has to be put in place.
Yeah. And with that, there's also 150 South Sewer.
It's the same thing.
East and West.
Yeah, same thing with sewer. Yeah. There's sewer going to the east for that new neighborhood that I just talked about. There's also sewer that needs to go to the west over to 47. So a lot of that area has been annexed. Rock Point Church, all those things out there. We need to get sewer over there and prepare for potential growth further south there. So all that has to happen. And again, this is a case where we do have a wastewater utility, but it can't afford to do all this work on the front side. So the city has to do some of this. And so that's what we're doing. But again, if you use the increment to pay it on a bond to put it in, and I always say it's as broad as long, because who ends up owning that sewer system in the end? We do, right? So you're using tax money to put it in, and the city will own it, and the wastewater utility will own it in the end.
And then Purple Heart Parkway water.
Yeah, that's the one I just talked about. That's taking that water all the way across to Ladoga Road.
And then our trail connection. So, when Purple Heart Parkway was built, there's the trail alongside, and the hope and the plan eventually is to connect all of the trail systems.
Yeah. And there's an old rail corridor right there. So we've been acquiring the pieces for that so that we can at some point take that new trail along Purple Heart and connect it up into the Milligan Park area, the golf course, the community center, all that kind of stuff. So not something that's going to happen in the immediate near future, but we have been, as we can, acquiring the property to do that. Yeah. And then if you think about all the homes in Arbor and all the homes in this new subdivision I talked about, all those things coming together, there's a lot of people living out there. So if we can get trail into the city there, that's absolutely perfect.
Yeah. And all of these things can come together because, you're taking the time now to start doing this study where you're understanding, okay, when we're developing, how do pieces come together rather than the hodgepodge that has been done in the past.
That's the hope. We still wonder sometimes, but no, I mean, we did do a corridor study with on the south side jointly with Montgomery County. And I know I said this before, but just a reminder, we now have Purple Heart running from 47 all the way to Ladoga Road. When you get to Ladoga Road, you're less than 2 miles from Comfort Drive that the county just built off of Newcourt Road. And if you go to the other end of it, you get to 47, you're going to be very close to where Skank Road is going to come into 32, probably less than 2 miles there as well. So how does all that align? And maybe at some point, years from now, not in 2026 for any by all means, but at some point, how do you connect those things? As growth happens, it's nice to know what that alignment looks like. Yeah. And then we don't end up with these, I call them messes we have all over the city where every single development put in their own access and nothing's aligned and nothing matches up. It's just a mess. Mm-hmm. And we are trying very hard to avoid that. Yeah. We don't want to repeat those mistakes. I look at some of these areas, I'm like, this could have been so good, but everybody did their own thing and nobody cooperated and the city didn't force the issue. And now we have all these dead end places that just don't line up. So we're trying to avoid that and trying to look at future growth.
Yeah. And of course, on the south side, we've got the Kroger development coming.
Yeah. So that's on Purple Heart, just just north of Buffalo Wild Wings, kind of behind the vet office. That's moving forward. It's been moving through all the approval process, design process, platting, all those things are happening. Property transfer, I think the last piece of property just transferred. So there'll be a fuel center up on the highway. I don't think it has highway access.
Yeah,
I don't think they got that approved. But it's all right there and visible. So yeah, that's moving forward. I think you'll see some dirt moving there in the spring. And their goal is to be open, late next year, early the year after?
I think it was end of 26,
Yeah.
early 27.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'll remind you, that is, again, the Kroger Marketplace. So that is it's very different than what we have now. And I hear a collective
Yes.
yes from the community out that it's much, much larger than what we have now. So it's well needed. And again, think back to the gaps analysis, retail gaps analysis, and the grocery gap that exists in this community. That kind of study has paid off in convincing retailers that we need more here.
Yeah. And meeting that demand and doing so in a different way where it's.
Yes. What we have right now is not acceptable, and we need to push for more. So we have been. And Aldi was a great help there as well.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
that's a great addition, and we need that capacity here.
Yes. And other retail recruitment activity.
Yeah, we continue to work that. There's it's just really hard. Retail is so hard, and at times there's a flurry of activity, and then nothing really happens. So we continue to monitor it. I'll just say, not to get political, but the environment in Indiana right now has really cooled for developers. They're pretty cautious about investing here just because of the uncertainty that's going on. So we're not seeing a lot of new inquiries on retail. We will in time, and you get all those new houses, that will drive retail. But we do have a couple projects we're going to talk about that are moving forward that are kind of related to retail, kind of.
Yes. And one of those is Starbucks.
Starbucks on the north side.
North
It's under construction.
Dirt's moving.
We get asked all the time, what is being built between the Holiday Inn and that gas station? And it's a Starbucks.
Yeah.
So that's been in the works for quite a while. There was a lot of permitting type of issues, access issues, working through the NDOT process, but it's all been approved and it's under construction. I think a lot of people thought Starbucks was going in the gas station because they added some retail space and a drive-through window, and that's not the case. It's going between the gas station and Holiday Inn.
Yes. And then a Wawa.
Wawa.
Which is what for people who don't know?
It's like a gas station convenience store on steroids.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it.
I know Cheryl's excited.
It's not Buc-ee's.
Yeah.
It's not as big as a Buc-ee's, but it's kind of in between there.
Yeah, Cheryl's very
I'm
excited.
told good food and good coffee.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, they are. They're very popular. If you go to Florida, they're very popular in the South, and they've started popping up in Indiana. I know there's
one in Indy.
There's a couple in Indy. There's one in Brownsburg.
Okay.
If you get off of 74, 267 right there. There's one right there. And maybe one in Lafayette now. I know they were working on one in Lafayette. So at one point, this project's been in the pipeline for a while. We would have had the first Wawa in Indiana. That's not going to be the case. Those others are
taking
open.
a little while.
There's been a lot of back and forth with the permitting side with NDOT and the highways, and you got two state highways right there, so it's kind of confusing. But I know the rumor's gotten out there that the project's dead and not happening. That's not true. It is moving forward. They're just still moving through those final design and approval process. And again, this is at 32 and 47 on the north side, northeast side. So, and you could see this summer where they farmed the field and there's one section they didn't farm. That's where the Wawa will be. That property already transferred.
And then our senior housing project.
So we've had a couple of looks, one in particular that's moved forward from developers who want to build apartments that are senior only. And I know I talked earlier in one of these updates about the shift in the housing market here, and there's been a dramatic shift in the amount of subsidized or rent subsidized housing. And the group that gets caught in that pinch the most is seniors. And so sure enough, you see developers figuring that out and coming in and proposing to build senior-only housing. It's in a very early stage. I'm not saying it's a done deal by any means, but they are doing their due diligence, and it looks like it's slowly moving forward. I'm not going to talk about the specific location yet because I don't think they're to that point, but I'll just say it's on the east side. So we talk about growth on the east side, and here's some that looks like it could possibly happen, but it would be rent subsidized for seniors.
Okay. And our infill housing program with Thrive and the county.
Yeah, we talked about this a lot, and then it kind of fell off and everything. So what we're doing there is a joint program with Montgomery County. We were able to secure some grant funding. And we talk about the big housing developments and how we use tax increment financing and those kind of things. And that's great, but that doesn't work for these smaller type projects or infill. For example, in the city, we may have 2 or 3 houses in a row that really aren't productive anymore. They're in bad shape. How do we get those out of the way and get new housing in there? We already have the water, the sewer, the street.
Right.
Everything's in place. How do we get new housing? And those are tough. We don't have as many tools in the toolbox, but we found a way through this grant funding that will offer some assistance to developers who want to come in and do just that. And so we're not quite ready to unveil it yet, but stay tuned. I think shortly after the first year, we'll be unveiling this program, and it will be open countywide. How do I say this? You have to have the infrastructure in place, so it won't be something where necessarily somebody's going to build 3 or 4 houses out on a county road.
Right.
But certainly in Crawfordsville and in the small towns, it would work there as well. If they already have sewer and that kind of stuff in place. And it incentivizes, it puts some money towards bridging the gap for a private developer to come in, get that old house out or take that vacant lot and put a house on it.
Right.
So it's not huge amounts of money, but sometimes it doesn't take much to bridge that gap. They're close. The numbers don't quite work.
And economic development activity.
Yeah, it's been strange. We're still getting some leads. We still see the leads for the mega projects, huge numbers. I think you see stories about data centers in the news every single day and all that kind of stuff. We're not working anything like that at all, I'll just tell you. And I think you got to look at all that. There's a lot of questions there you have to answer as you move through that process. So we're not really seeing much on that side. What we are seeing, we are still moving through some projects where we're talking about expansions with our existing employers, which has kind of been our bread and butter. And so we do have one in particular in the pipeline right now, moving through the process that could be pretty significant. So we're just moving on that front. As I said earlier, the market has really cooled for Indiana right now. Site selectors, or the people who guide businesses in their decision about where to locate new investment, are pretty cool to Indiana right now. I mean, they rate us, and we used to be in the top 1, 2, or 3 in every category. Indiana was, and now Indiana is like off the charts at the bottom.
Wow!
So a lot has changed in a mere few months, less than a year. We've fallen that far. So that part of it's pretty cool. But right now we are working some expansion stuff. And at the end of the day, locals land projects, the state doesn't. So I'm still confident we can still get good looks and land good things here.
Yeah.
And right now we're at a time where we needed to pause a little anyway, because we don't have an infinite workforce, right? And so we already have a lot of jobs open, and we have a lot of new jobs coming. We need to kind of stabilize and get those filled, and then kind of go from there. And to fill those, we need what? Housing?
Right.
There we go. It's all tied together.
People, retail, it all.
Yep. It's all tied together.
Sense. Yes. And then the Commerce Park is obviously looking very different and continues to change and evolve as they're working on Weaver and Ira Whiskey. And it's awesome out there.
I'm not going to talk about each one of those, but just drive through there.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll see it's changing by the day. A lot of activity there.
Yeah. And then the Fairfield Inn is still happening.
We're told they're breaking ground about any day now. They made some changes to their design. I think as they move through the process, they actually have made it bigger. So they've decided the market here is pretty strong. So
okay.
Yep.
And
that's Fairfield Inn is north of Kids Count, right in that area, Fieldwood Boulevard and that area.
Yeah, they're choosing the cool months to start the work.
Yeah, well, yeah, and you see that a lot where construction is kind of being extended a little bit more throughout the year. I mean, obviously, it'll be a lot slower in the winter, but they are doing work in the winter.
Yeah. And our Crawfordsville Career Academy is also out there in the Commerce Park, and
also known as the Ivy Tech Building.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's going well.
It's awesome
drive by, you'll see it's a hustle and bustle place anymore with all the high school students there and everything. It's going very well. We are putting together a board to kind of help guide the programming of it. It's going to continue to evolve, but I think we're heading in the right direction there. We've got career tech ed there. We've got the apprenticeship program there. We've got adult learning there now. We've got all those things kind of coming together in one place to help, skill up our workforce and prepare our young people and all those things.
Yeah, very cool.
And it was kind of scattered everywhere. It's not as good. There are communities that have outstanding career centers, and we've been way behind, but this is a step in the right direction for us.
Yes. And public transportation is rolling out and officially starting in January.
I said January 1, but I don't think that's right. It's the second or third,
yeah.
something like that. But yeah, first week of January. We're going to do a whole episode on that, I think, and just kind of walk people through the changes and how to access it and how to use it. I know they're getting ready to change the logos on all the vans.
Yes,
that's exciting.
It is exciting. It'll be nice to see that. And again, for people who don't know, Crawfordsville area transportation, maybe going by cat.
Yep.
The logo is not a cat.
It's not a cat.
It's not. It's not. Spoiler.
If we could call it cat, we could get a lot of people come to the council meeting to talk about it.
I know.
They might get confused with the two kinds of cats.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. But that's public transportation for anybody, not just, a narrow group. So,
it's exciting stuff. And Ready 2.0, the Greater Lafayette region has hit that 65% spend.
Yeah. So, in theory, we should see Ready 2 money start to flow anytime. How do I say this? Politically correct. That's in theory. Yeah. We have not seen any money flow yet from Ready 2. And I feel like it's a constant, that they just keep asking for more things just to kind of buy time, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, that's great. You sent us a picture. Well, we need it in this format. Mm-hmm. And that takes another 30 days for us to review. Oh, we need one more answer on this document. That's another 30 days to review. That's kind of the game you feel like you're playing sometimes. But, eventually we'll see money flowing into this community from Ready 2.
Yes. And our EPA Brownfields Grant 2.0, working through everything and working to get a public meeting scheduled?
Yeah, we've had one public meeting. They did come and present at the Redevelopment Commission meeting just to share the benefits of the program and opportunities that may arise from that. I know there had been a delay on the program because they weren't issuing any funds due to the government shutdown. So obviously things aren't moving as quickly there as we might have liked, but I think they should be able to start to turn that around, get some interest, and really start to work on some of these properties. Get in there and just study to see if there are environmental issues that need addressed, and if there are, they can, start to work on those, or they can state with confidence that there aren't issues, and then that should help move the property, allow it to be sold and make it more productive.
Okay. And our city pool, seems silly to be talking about that in December, but
yeah,
it's a hot topic here.
It is. So we had a lot of confusion last year because we did the pool study and we knew what it looked like to build a new pool. We had rough cost estimates of that. And then at the same time, we knew we had a short lifespan with our existing pool. And then this year, I guess, was kind of disastrous. I mean, like everything went wrong and we had to shorten the season. It was closed a lot, all that stuff. So now we're kind of trying to make a decision, right? So as I've said many times, to build a new pool and aquatic center is very expensive, very expensive. The question is, can we repair the existing pool to get us by for a few years? And that's kind of what we're analyzing right now.
Right.
We do have some cost estimates of what that would cost. We know what a new one costs. So we're going to have to sit down and really have a discussion about that and make a decision. Obviously, it's a lot less to fix what we have. The question is, how many years does it buy us? Do we spend that? And it's in the hundreds of thousands, folks. It's not 10,000. If we spend that kind of money, do we buy ourselves a year? Is it worth it? Do we buy ourselves 2? If we buy 5 years plus, probably well worth it. So, not sure yet. We'll probably get really serious about that here right after the first year and really try to make some decisions, because we'll have to, if we're going to do repairs, we'll have to make those decisions pretty quickly so we can get in the pipeline to get that done when the weather breaks. But we have some massive leaks. I mean, massive leaks. And it's not all in the pool. Some of it's in the plumbing. It's all these different systems that can go wrong. The pool was built in 1966. Yeah. So it has some age on it.
Yes.
I was also built in 1966, and I have some age on me, so I understand.
Feeling the same way.
That's right.
Got some
I feel the
repairs.
pains of that pool.
Well, hopefully we can, figure out that solution. And, I know our community feels very passionate about the pool one way or another. And so it's.
Yeah, we want a pool. I think it's
important.
huge, if you want families in your community, it's a huge part of what you have to offer. Just not quite figured out the numbers side of it.
Yeah.
And some communities have done so, and hats off to them.
Right.
But it's a tough one to spend that kind of money for something you get to use for 2 months of the year tops.
Right.
So that's a little bit of that's a tough one to think through.
Yes. And then our early learning stuff, we've had, we've talked about this. We've had different episodes, some challenges and setbacks, not just in our community, but statewide.
Right. Yes, since the last time we updated on this, we've lost yet another child care center. And I honestly can't say that is the last one in our community. I mean, they're all kind of struggling. The ability to fill seats and bring in income with that lack of vouchers and the reduced voucher rates has just been disastrous. We received some information yesterday that there have been well over 100 childcare closures in the state of Indiana. So this is not just here. This is not a program that has an easy fix. This is not, it's really not a good situation. So we'll continue to do everything that we can to work through that. But the reality is we have a lot of children that have lost childcare. And that impacts, as we were talking about earlier, our ability to allow existing businesses to not allow, we don't control it, but it's harder for existing businesses to expand if we don't have the workforce when we're already kind of stretched on the workforce. And now we have these families that may have had someone that had to leave the workforce because they don't have a child care solution right now. And that's just the tip of the iceberg on the problem that it creates. I know recently the Community Foundation, the Early Learning Coalition, hosted an event and had a viewing of No Small Matter, which is a documentary that goes into all of the impacts of childcare, including the brain science and the importance of that for all of those things that we're talking about for kindergarten readiness. And ultimately preparing our future, the next generation of workforce. Right. It touches so many areas of our community. And right now it is just...
It's a disaster.
Yeah, it's just really bad.
Statewide. It's unfortunate. And we had made such good progress in this community. Everybody worked together as a national best practice model. All that progress has been erased by this. And I think there's a huge misunderstanding of the issue. A couple of things. One, it's not just babysitting. It's early learning. It's brain development. And number two, vouchers are not welfare and a handout. These are allowing people to work. To bridge the gap, because childcare, if you're going to pay your employees right, is very expensive. And if you want the right kind of people in there helping your child, and the things don't make sense. So the vouchers create a way to bridge that gap to allow people to work. People are going to leave the workforce now. So they're going to sit at home because they can't do that. It's unfortunate. And I want to be clear, you know me, I'm pretty blunt, but the legislature approved the funding for the vouchers. They approved it. So I'm the first one to tell you when the legislature, I think, got something wrong. In this case, they approved it. This blame 100% lies on Governor Mike Braun, period. Yeah. He's the one who's made this decision. He's the one who clearly, I've been in meetings where he's spoken, clearly does not understand the issue, clearly does not understand the ramifications of what he's doing and the long-term ramifications of what he's doing. And he's made this decision. And to put this into context, this is happening at the same time that the state of Indiana has exceeded their revenue projections every month this year but one. So it's not like we had to make this decision because, oh my gosh, the sky's falling, we don't have the money. Yeah. It's the opposite. Yeah. So this is a political game, and families and children are the one paying the price. Yeah. And it's very unfortunate that it's happening here in the state of Indiana. I think the fear for all of us is, okay, if the funding gets restored at some point, what's that look like? Well, the infrastructure is going to be gone. And it's going to be very hard to rebuild it. As these centers close, they auction everything off, sell it. Yeah. The structure is gone. The infrastructure is gone. So I would encourage people to do your homework on this and reach out to the governor's office and make your voice heard.
Yeah.
I know the legislative breakfast coming up, some people are going to address this issue. And I know the legislators are going to say, hey, that's not on our plate. Like, we approved the funding, and they're right. They did. Mm-hmm. Now, can they still put some pressure? Definitely. Yeah. And they still need to hear about it. But it's a bad situation.
Yeah.
Hundreds of families in our community have been affected by this. And how many employees have lost their jobs? How many childcare workers have lost their job? We're talking about, I hear a lot out of this administration at state level about small businesses, and we're going to promote small businesses and help them grow. Every one of those early learning centers was a small business that's now shuttered up, and the employees have lost their jobs.
Right.
Makes no sense.
Yeah. It's terrible.
Yep.
And our youth council has been...
On a brighter note.
On a brighter note, yes. Our youth council has been doing really wonderful things, and they've been super active in our community.
Yes. The timing of our recording, unfortunately, doesn't allow us to speak on their event, but they will have, by the time this airs, they will have just hosted their first large event in the community. And we're hoping that event at Downtown Party Night went really well. I'm sure that it will and did, depending on when you're listening to this. But they have really, it's just been really exciting to watch them start to pick up on things happening in our community and how they can be a part of that. They will report to some of us in government and the school superintendents and things like that in December. And then I think they've had a whole lot of guidance and help from their sponsors at their schools. I think in the second half of this school year, I think the intent is to allow them to really take that over and own it and learn how to do these things, how to become involved and how to plan these events. And, only positive things can come from that. I think they're just really learning how to take an active role in their community and learning what's here. You hear so often the kids say, there's nothing to do here. Or they have all these things that they want us to do, and they have no idea that we've actually done them. We're working on them. It's all in process or has just been completed. It's funny to hear the conversations because they're just not plugged in, and it's not really their fault. They are tuned into different things than we are. So we're going to figure out how to bridge that gap and get the information out to them on platforms that they use so that they'll know what's happening.
Right.
So
I tell the story. Was it last year we went to a meeting and they were like, we need new parks. It was like everything we were doing. We need wayfinding. Yep. Like, oh my gosh. So we knew we had to fix this, and they've done a fantastic job this year. The kids are so much more aware of what we're doing here. And then as we're making decisions, their perspective is very different. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying I always agree with it. No, it's good. No, it's very different. Like, they have a lot to say, and they're right. I mean, the stuff we're doing today is for their generation.
Right.
We need to build this and need to think about, their input at the time. So I'm very pleased with what's happened this year. Hats off to Brandy and to the sponsors. They put a lot of work into this, and it shows. Yes. And the kids, they've been amazing.
Yes, they really
They're serious. They show up, they're serious. They're focused and they're serious. They're also interested in lunch, but they're also focused and serious.
Well, who isn't?
Me too.
Right. Everybody. Well, I think that's everything that we've got on the list for this month. We talk about things ebb and flow. The list grows, it shrinks, and we add new things in here. So if you're listening and you've heard something that you want to know more about, or maybe you've got questions, feel free to reach out and let us know. We've got a couple topics on here that will get full episodes in more detail, laying out different information. So stay tuned for those. And as always, check out Yodel, our Community Connections calendar and newsfeed for all things happening in Crawfordsville in one easy, convenient location. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week. Make sure you hit the subscribe button on this podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you aren't already, follow us on Facebook at City of Crawfordsville Official, on Twitter at City of Seaville, and on Instagram at City of Crawfordsville. We hope you have a wonderful day and can't wait for you to join us next week.